Hello! In this lesson, I want to talk about ties. No, not this kind of tie. Not even this kind of bolo tie. I'm going to talk about musical ties. So in a previous video, I've talked about how if I have a meter, let me write that word. I don't know if you'll be able to read it or not, but I wrote it. A meter of 2, 3, or 4 are our most common ones. And I can only put that many beats in each measure. So in a meter of 2, I can only put 2 beats in the measure. In a meter of 3, I can only put 3 beats in a measure. In a meter of 4, I can only put, hopefully you said, 4 beats in a measure. Now that's all well and good, but sometimes music doesn't want to work that way. So maybe I want a note right here that lasts for 2 beats. But I already have a note here. Can I put a 2-beat note here? No, I cannot. But you will hear this in music. And where there is a will and a brain, there is a way. So to make a note here last 2 beats, I'm going to turn it into a quarter note, write another quarter note here, but instead of playing 2 quarter notes, I do this right here. And that little line ties them together. This is called a tie. So now, instead of playing 3 quarter notes, I play 1 quarter note and 1 quarter note that is tied to a second. So 2 quarter notes that are tied together are worth 2 beats. So this would sound like, even though they're in different measures, the tie lets us carry a note across the measure. I could do it again. I could have a quarter note tied into a half note right there. And even though I only have 2 beats in each measure, it will sound like this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Oh, I messed up. Let me try it again. It's tricky. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And then I might have a note here. 1, 2. So now I have notes being tied across. 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Even though they are lasting longer than 2 beats, or they're coming across the measures, it's still in a meter of 2, and I didn't break any rules. I just added something called a tie. Let's take a look at a meter of 3. Can I put a whole note in there? We already said no, we can't. That's 4 beats. And I only have 3 beats here, but if I could put a half note here, I could have a quarter note before it, and I can have a half note here. I can tie this together. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 works. If I wanted a really long note, I can also add something called a dot. If you'll go back to one of my other videos, I talked about that a dot adds half of the original value. So a dotted half note is already basically a half note that's tied to a quarter note. And if I wanted it to be 4 beats, I can draw a quarter note here and tie it together, and I can still finish off this measure with 2 more beats. And so this one here will sound 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3. It still fits in a meter of 3. I'm not breaking any rules. I'm tying across. And in 4, can I put a whole note? Absolutely. But I can also put other notes. I can put in a quarter note, a half note, but I want this half note to last 3 beats. Could I make it a dot? No, because I already have 4 beats here. So I can put a quarter note here and tie them together. And so now I'm still following the rules, but I'm not going to replay this note. The tie makes it carry across. I could put, let's put a rest in there. And let's do another tie since I'm talking about ties. Ties are really tricky to play, by the way, because we want to usually hear a note on our first beat. So this rhythm here is a whole note, fills the whole measure. Quarter note, half note makes a measure. But I tie this over, so this note here, this quarter note here, still sounds with this. But the measure is still divided. I have a rest, I have a quarter note tied to another because I could not write a half note there. And here we are finishing it off. So let's hear 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Rest. 3, 4. Wait. 1, 2, 3. Woohoo! I made a mistake. There's only 3 beats in that measure. There we go. That fixes that. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Always count and double check if you're writing music or if you're doing a test where you're saying, are there the right number of beats in there? Because I would very well give you a problem where I would do this. And I might do it by accident, like I just did, or I might do it on purpose, where you say, okay, well, there's a ties, that's still fitting, and you just ignore it. But don't ignore it. Watch out, because this is 1 beat, 2 beats, 3 beats. And I have to have how many? 4. So I have to somewhere or another put in another beat. It could be another rest. It could be 2 eighth notes, but it has to have 4 beats in each measure. And if you want a note to last past the measure, you write whatever note you want it to add up to and tie it across. So those are ties. Once again, not neckties, not bolo ties, but musical ties. I probably will come up with some worksheets in the next few weeks if you're in one of my Google Classrooms where I explore musical ties. See you soon.